Thank you. So I've been in Fairbanks about a couple years now, and I've learned in that time I have a very common Fairbanks story. I came here expecting to stay a short amount of time, and I'm still here. And I think I've thought a lot about, like, what is it about this place that really draws us in? Because my story is not unique. You know, whenever anyone asks me, I always say, well, it's the people here. They're really nice. But really what it is the way that we show up for one another, the way that we take care of each other here. And I've seen that in so many different ways. The first time I saw that was when my car broke down on the Johansson, and people stopped. I've had a moment of panic, but people stopped and helped me push it off the road. And I see it, when tragedy happens and we show up, we fundraise, we bring food, we show up for our neighbors. And that's been really important for me here because I'm so far from my family in Scotland, and it makes me feel safe here. I know if I go in a ditch and it's 40 below, probably someone will help me. I know that if my house burns down, like, people will show up for me in whatever way they can. It's just what we do here. And so it's been a really hard truth for me to sit in that not everyone is safe here, that there are people being hurt. You know, whether we've seen statistics that tell us that the rate of domestic violence and sexual assault in Alaska is the highest in the nation, whether we have watched the news and seen that there have been several domestic violence homicides in Fairbanks in the last 6 months, whether it's affected people we know and we love. It's here. And so I know this community is made up of good people who want to do something about that. We all want to be safe, and we want our neighbors to be safe. And so doing something about that can seem completely overwhelming. It can seem like that's the job of other people. But the reality is that there are people working tirelessly in our shelters, in our law enforcement, in our legal system, in our counseling centers. They're working tirelessly to address this problem. And they can't do it alone. If they could do it alone, it would be done by now. They need us to pitch in. And so that's what I want to talk about today, is ways that we can do that. But first I want to acknowledge that it's hard. It can be hard to address violence in our community. There are things that stop us. And I'm going to call them barriers. Hopefully my clicker works. I'm going to call them barriers, but really they are our personal boundaries. They are things that stop us intervening. So things like personal safety. You know, if I'm not safe intervening in violence, then I'm probably not going to. If, maybe I'm not sure what I'm seeing, maybe I'm not sure if it's my place to intervene in violence, maybe I'm not sure if maybe it's not my business to intervene. I don't know. So we come up against things. When we get that feeling in our gut that tells us something is not right here, there are things that stop us. So we really want to have tools to address violence when we see it. And so I'm going to talk about these tools. I'm going to call them the 3 Ds, which I apologize for the slides here. But there are 3 Ds. And the 3 Ds are distract, delegate, and direct. And so they're tools for when you see violence and you want to do something, what are you going to do? And so direct is going to be, I'm going to directly intervene. Maybe I see something I'm concerned about, and I'm going to go over and say, this is making me uncomfortable, or I'm going to go over to a person I'm worried about and say, just check in with them. I'm going to say, do you need help? But maybe that's not appropriate for me at that time. So I'm going to delegate. And delegate is when I'm going to ask for someone else to help me. And we can call 911, that's a good delegate, but we can also call law enforcement to check on someone. We can also, ask your pastor to check on someone for you. You can also ask your neighbor or a bartender, someone who might be able to intervene when you can't or it's not safe. There's also distract. So distract is a way that we can address violence without really acknowledging it. So perhaps I'm going to start a completely unrelated conversation when I see something. Perhaps if I'm in my car and I see something happening, I could honk my horn really loudly. Something that just interrupts that moment of violence or potential violence when I see it. And so these are going to be our reactive tools, that we can equip ourselves with these tools to help keep our community safe. But it's not really enough. We need to be addressing violence before it's in front of us. We need to really be proactive about addressing violence, because when we're proactive, we're telling the people around us that we don't tolerate violence here, and we expect everyone to do their part. So I'm going to throw out some ideas for ways that you can be involved in proactively addressing violence, and I'm going to be outside during the break, so please come talk to me about it if you want to follow up on any of these. So we can start talking about violence, normalize that conversation. We can talk to our kids about healthy boundaries. We can talk to our partners. We can look at our own relationships and see if they're healthy. And if they're not, there are ways we can find out how to make them healthy. We can get involved in violence prevention work. There's really cool things happening in this community that keep us safe. Get involved, do something. I gave you kind of a little taste with our tools, but take a Green Dot training. There are ways that we can really look at those tools and how we're going to intervene when we have an opportunity to do that. Come as a workplace, come as a family. You can come to community events. There's some really fun awareness events that your participation really shows the people around you that this matters to you and that you're going to be a part of the solution in whatever way that you can. You can know your resources that keep people safe in this community. You can bring them with you. Bring them to your workplace, bring them to your gym, put them in the bathroom or the locker room at your gym so that people can ask for help if they need it. No matter what you do, make a personal commitment to do something, because this work is going to take all of us. It's going to take me, it's going to take you. So just do something, whatever that makes sense for you. Thank you.